In this part of the lesson, we will look at the commands for creating standard or linear shells. Let's create a sketch on the XY plane. To create shells, most closed contours are suitable, for example, a circle or a polygon. As well as unclosed arcs. We finish the sketch and click on the Shell command. In the Operation menu, we set the parameters of the future shell, such as wall thickness, radius of rounding the edges. Let's select our polygon. It will be clearer on its example. Just turn on the Shaded with Edges display mode. As I mentioned, we can set the wall thickness, radius of rounding the edges between them. For shells built on an arc or circle, the rounding radius does not affect anything, as they have only one edge and there is nothing to round it with. In the Direction field, we can choose the way to set the element. If we choose the surface, then we need to specify the surface up to which the sketch will be extruded. And if distance type is selected, just specify the direction and height of the element. The direction of shell creation can be changed by selecting the Opposite Direction checkbox. Other elements will be more conveniently shown on a shell, created from a circle, so we will change the sketch selection. For circular arcs, a cone angle can be set. For instance, let's specify 10 degrees. The edge of a joint field is responsible for the placement of edges. Let's switch to a top view for clarity and increase the thickness a bit. Now, if we remove the check, the edges will become parallel to each other. As we see now, they are angled, and now they become parallel. The next is Edge of the Base field. When creating shells with inclination, the top and bottom edges remain perpendicular to the side surface and get a slight tilt. And if we need to align them parallel to the sketch plane, we remove the check from this option. Let's return to isometric view. In the Gap field, we specify the necessary gap between the edges of the shell. It is specified in millimeters. For example, we set 10 millimeters, and the gap increased. Just below, you can choose the type of gap shift. If we need the gap to be in a specific place on the shell, we can specify the location of the gap along the circumference by setting a numerical value. We can also choose ratio, when the location of the gap is determined by the percentage ratio of the circumference length, or we can choose angle, for example, 45 or 180 degrees. In the Segmentation tab, we can divide the shell into the desired number of segments of an polygon. To do this, we remove the cone angle, press Segmentation, and specify the number of segments of our polygon, for example 5. We can also change the way of creating segmentation, for example, by the number of segments, by segment length, by segment angle, or by the linear deviation of the segment. Let's complete the command by pressing OK. Let's also try to create a shell from an arc. For this, let's delete the Shell command and specify the planar sketch in the Save Linked Objects window. The parameters are almost the same. Only this time we select an arc as the sketch and get a shell created from an arc. Also, let's not complete the command. Press Cancel. Since for demonstrating the next command of creating a ruled shell, we will need this sketch and another one. First, we'll create a new working plane by offsetting from the plane. As the offset, we choose the XY plane and set the offset to 200. We have created a working plane. Now let's create a sketch on it. For example, another polygon. We define the center of the polygon, select Inscribed, and finish editing. Now we have two sketches. We go to the Ruled Shell command, select sketch number 1, choose sketch number 2, and see the result. This function allows creating a shell with a changing cross-sectional shape. For the second sketch, we could, for example, use not a polygon, but let's say a circle. We reselect sketch 1 and sketch 2. And we get a shell with a changing cross-sectional shape. A handy feature if you need to transition from one geometric shape to another. Thank you for your attention.